There isn't a lot of love online for the 2011 American sci-fi In Time, and I recently watched it with Mrs. Cooking and I thought I kinda enjoy this still. So I thought I'd do a lukewarm defense of it. Why a lukewarm defense? Well, let's be honest, this movie has a lot of problems. So let's deal with those first. The biggest negative is the implementation of the premise. The premise coincidentally also being the greatest positive. It being that in 2169, people are genetically engineered to stop aging on their 25th birthday when a 1-year countdown on their forearm begins. When it reaches 0, the person times out and dies instantly. Time has become money. You work, you earn time. You buy something, it costs time. I've said before, I don't mind plot holes as long as they make some form of logical sense within the world they inhabit, or you are so entertained by the film that you don't notice the plot hole. Now, the way the clock is implemented, I don't know if it is a plot hole as such, more it just makes zero logical sense in any way, shape or form, either in the real world or the world that this movie exists in. The clock is prominently displayed on every person's forearm for all and sundry to see at all times, never dimming or being hidden. It's like us now walking around with our net worth on our forearm, constantly ticking up or down as the case may be for all to see. This is then compounded by various other things, such as these clocks having zero security on them. No passwords, no verbal or mental agreement by the people involved. Someone can literally just time you out in your sleep if they were so inclined. All you have to do to steal time is touch someone's arm and twist it a bit. There's just no way these flaws would be allowed to exist in any human society. You would have all sorts of security on the time clocks, and they'd be hidden unless you wanted to see the time on them. Now, I think it's pretty clear why this would be a problem, both in the world of the film and in any world really, which the film compounds by making these idiotic design flaws plot points. So numerous things happen in the film that would just be impossible if the bare minimum of security existed on what are the two things people generally protect the most in life: their wealth and their lives, which are one and the same in this universe. Admittedly, these plot holes are massive flaws in the logic and plot of this film, as they take you out of the premise and the world the filmmakers are attempting to build. Hence, this is only a lukewarm defense, and I can fully see why they'd ruin someone's enjoyment of this. Other lesser problems are the fact that Justin Timberlake is the leading man, and he isn't the greatest of actors. Charming and charismatic guy, great singer, bang average actor. On top of that, everything, and I mean everything, has a time-based pun for its name. Police are timekeepers, districts of times are time zones, thieves are called Minutemen, etc, etc. It gets kinda old kinda quickly. It also has one of the worst car crash scenes of all time. All that being said, this film has enough going for it that I own it on DVD and have seen it at least 5 times now. Chief of those being the premise. I know I just spent over 500 words dunking on the fact the premise is a plot hole ridden mess, but hear me out, it is also by far the best thing about this film. Mainly because it is a very thinly veiled critique of the current capitalist system we exist under. As the chief antagonist says to Justin Timberlake's character,
"They all think they have a chance at immortality, even though all the evidence is against it. They all think they will be the exception. But the truth is, for a few to be immortal, many must die."
just swap immortal for rich, and that pretty much sums up a lot of capitalism, especially when you realise working for wages is essentially payment for giving up your precious hours on this earth before you die. You don't work, you can't earn money, you can't eat, you can't pay bills, and you die. With the system specifically relying on a subset of society always being undereducated, underpaid, and overexploited, so that the people at the very top can fly dick-shaped rockets to the edge of space. He didn't even go into orbit, the utter loser. This film's universe takes that to a very logical next step. Time is money, and money is the time you get to spend on Earth. with the economic system specifically being coordinated to make people desperate enough to do the menial and degrading tasks that are fundamental to the system's survival, which I think has become ever more clear in our own economic system since the economic crash of the late noughties and the COVID crisis, where billionaires got ever richer as everyone else increasingly struggles, as they constantly say throughout the film.
Is it stealing if it's already stolen?
Exactly. I also love the almost nihilistic ending where even though they attempt to break the system, they just can't. It just makes things worse for everyone. Everyone except the rich, of course. The film even attempts to explain why the police, a force nominally meant to serve and protect the public, but in reality are a force to serve and protect the best interests of the ruling classes, when it really comes down to it, work against their best interest as working class people and defend those at the top with this line from Cillian Murphy's Timekeeper.
I have given 50 years of my life to this job. I'm not about to see those years go to waste.
Essentially, I got my crumbs from the pie, and I don't want to admit maybe I was wrong all these years to not demand more for me and mine. Basically, I really love the social commentary here, as heavy-handed, simplistic in its understanding and on the nose as it is. I also like a lot of the cast. Amanda Seyfried is great as a rich kid gone rogue, and has a good Bonnie and Clyde kind of vibe going on with Timberlake. Murphy is always excellent, and they did a really fine job of finding people who are spookily similar in appearance to sell the nobody ages past 25 world. So In Time isn't a great movie, but I think it deserves at least some credit for trying to be slightly more clever than your average sci-fi action film is these days. And I still really enjoy it, as does Mrs. Cooking, although for wildly different reasons. She just fancies Justin Timberlake.